Hello everyone, it's great to be here, Bitcoin Wednesday. My name is Tadhg and I am a developer from Ireland. I work for Zcoin. I've been working for them since last May. After I just finished my master's degree, I was studying blockchain and blockchain privacy mechanisms and how they are applied. And afterwards then saw this video for Zcoin. Basically wanted someone to develop the Zerocoin Protocol into an Ethereum smart contract, and that is the project I've been working on since. Okay. Yeah, just. Okay, so nice PDF. Yeah, so some contact details. It's coming out very weird, but anyway. So we call the project Zerocoin on Ethereum, and what it is that it's an application layer privacy solution for Ethereum. What that means is that there are certain privacy and other scalability solutions that are being implemented in the base layer of Ethereum at the client level, whereas this is existing at the level of the smart contracts. Zerocoin itself, while as Ruben discussed, is a trusted protocol, because of the fact that we chose a certain value that was generated about 30 years ago, and as of yet hasn't been broken in any way, generally how it's described, we can basically have a trustless mixer. And the interesting thing about Zerocoin as well is that it preserves both fungibility, which Ruben talked about, the idea that any coin is as valuable as any other coin, as well as an auditable supply. So you can always agree on the fact that the ledger has the exact amount of coins that it should have. And this makes it a great choice in general for Ethereum. For those who don't know, Ethereum is just a smart contract platform. It runs pieces of code that run exactly as programmed without any third-party interference. And the addition of precompiled, what are known as precompiled contracts into the most recent rollout of Ethereum in the Byzantium release, this makes a Zerocoin possible. That was also added was the ability to use ZK Snark transactions as well. Okay, it's okay. Yeah. So the main body of the code has been completed, and this is viewable on our GitHub page. What I would say about this is that it's the back-end element of the system, in the sense that the smart contract part is complete, but we're still working on the interfacing with the smart contracts and the layer at which the user can just create the proof and send it to the chain. But unfortunately at the moment, because of the way that Ethereum works, there are still a number of issues with this. Ethereum measures and the cost per transaction, what's known as gas, and every unit of computation is measured by this metric. Gas is also then measured in a number of Ethereum per execution of gas, and Ethereum at the moment has a very low block gas limit, which means that it's expensive in general for just doing general computation, and this includes Zerocoin. And Zerocoin, as it is the first iteration of Zerocoin, was still is a heavy application to run. It takes about 1 to 2 seconds to verify a single spend transaction, and as a result, when this is applied to Ethereum, the transactional costs are very large, much larger than a single block. This results again in a very large transaction. As Ruben discussed, it's about 25 KB, but we can reduce this to roughly 10 kilobytes. But this is still too large. We need to send in a single transaction to the Ethereum network. Storage as well is another issue. To store arbitrary data on the Ethereum blockchain is expensive, and every word of data costs quite a large amount of gas. And the other issue then with the development of this project was using Solidity. Solidity is an in-development programming language. As a result, because of this, I had to develop an entire big number library for Ethereum. And this is actually, you can go on now to our GitHub page and view this. It's been well tested. It's going through the process now of being audited. So if you're a developer of cryptographic protocols on Ethereum, I would definitely recommend going and looking at this library because a lot of the infrastructural work for Ethereum still has yet to be developed. So this kind of adds to that. And then as well as that, common features only recently supported on the Ethereum platform or in Solidity. So for example, the ability to send a struct to the network, the ability to use structs was only recently added recently, so you can see how Solidity still have some ways to go to be a fully usable programming language. There are some solutions, however, and these would reduce the cost significantly and scale the network. Ethereum hopefully will inherently scale as time goes on, and this will reduce the cost and make this project actually usable on the main network. There are other ways that we could improve this. We could use off-chain oracles, they're called, where we actually send some of the computations off-chain. They're calculated and sent back. But again, this centralizes some of the actual computational work, which is against what decentralized protocols should be about. So there are solutions such as TrueBit, which I particularly like, where instead of actually doing computation on chain, that computation is taken off chain, calculated and sent back, and then this game occurs between multiple different parties, this verifier game, to ensure that that computation was actually calculated correctly. And this reduces computation significantly. Other ways in which we could actually improve it is that we could improve Zerocoin itself natively. Zerocoin by now is sort of an outdated protocol, and there are a bunch of new privacy solutions that either extend or just generally improve on Zerocoin. And there are some, we could either migrate completely to those, or we could actually look at some of the recent developments that could just generally improve the Zerocoin scheme itself. Then in terms of just storing data on chain, we could look at some other off-chain storage solutions such as Filecoin to do this. And yeah, that's it. So if there's any questions, I'll be ready to take them.
Any questions on Zerocoin or Ethereum?
So as I understand it, your coin is implemented as a smart contract layer. Would it pose a threat if Ethereum moved ZK snarks to their base core infrastructure?
That's a very good point. I think that it would be a long draw for Ethereum to just add ZK snarks into their base layer. I still feel like Ethereum would like to generally keep the client layer as clean as possible and add any sort of implementation with cryptographic protocols at the pre-compiled contract layer, if that makes sense. So they added modular exponentiation, which allows us to do Zerocoin calculations, which is sort of a fundamental building block for RSA-based cryptographic privacy solutions, right? So adding, instead of what they didn't actually add was ZK snarks directly, it was this elliptic curve pairing as an element. So you can do that from that as well. You could build layers and layers on top of that. So to answer your first question though, this would allow you to mix ERC20s, or you could actually just, with ERC20s, you could build a token on top of it that would do the same scheme that Zcoin does, in that you burn a coin and then prove that you burned that coin. So you just kind of abstractly create Zcoin on top of Ethereum, right? But you can also, on the level lower than that with Ethereum, because it's not in the actual client, you can just tumble your Ethereum. So you add it to the network, and then you can just tumble it and take it back out again instead of burning the coin, you know. So in terms of a threat, I don't think that Ethereum would actually add ZK snarks into the client level, I think, you know.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Tadhg.
Yes.
I hope I pronounced it well.
Got it right there.